So is it possible to make an amazing soup with just two ingredients that you have in your pantry? Absolutely. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to make my two ingredient pea and pesto soup. Uh, but before we get to that, I just need to introduce myself. So I'm Jules Clancy. I'm a former food scientist, but now I'm a cooking coach and I focus on helping make cooking as easy and simple and doable as possible. And this recipe is a great example of that. So just two ingredients. And if you want to find out like more that are only going to take two ingredients, hang around after the recipe and I'll share those then. So I've just got 2.5 cups of water that I've brought up to the boil. So we'll get just frozen peas, just the bag, so 500 grams, about a pound. And we'll bring that back up to a boil and we're just going to simmer it for about 5 minutes or until the peas are tender. Peas have been in for 5 minutes and they haven't actually come back up to the boil yet, which is kind of surprising. But they're looking, beautifully bright green. And when I taste, like they're really sweet and it's just full of flavor. So that's all we need for the soup. So I'm just going to get them off the heat and then we'll puree. Give the peas a good puree with my stick blender. So really easy and fun way to make soup. Get it fairly smooth and a little bit foamy, a bit Ferranadria. That's looking great. And so then I've just got some pesto in a jar. If you've made your own pesto, that's even better. But for pantry stuff, it's actually kind of handy to have in the cupboard. So we'll just pop in, might just try 2 tablespoons of pesto. Give that a little stir and then just have a taste. Oh wow, it's really super sweet from the peas. So we'll give it a good season, and I think I'm actually happy with that much pesto in there, but it's up to you. If you want it more pesto-y, go ahead and go for 3 or 4 tablespoons, and that's our soup done. Okay, so if you found this helpful, make sure you subscribe to my Stone Soup channel. And I promised you some variations, so some extra ideas that you can use in the kitchen. So actually, one of the things, if you're new to my world, apart from making things really, really simple, the other thing that makes Stone Soup recipes different is that I always include a list of variations for different dietary requirements, or if you happen to be missing a certain ingredient, so that you can adjust the recipe according to what you have on hand or who you're cooking for. So for the pea and pesto soup recipe, if you did need to be dairy-free, then using a dairy-free pesto is obvious, of course, Jules. So that's one option. And if you're looking for a good dairy-free pesto recipe, I have one on my blog, Stone Soups. The link to that below the video. If you link to a link to the recipe page, which will have a link to that. That's called a Sicilian nut pesto. So rather than using Parmesan, it uses extra nuts in the pesto. It's so delicious and you definitely don't miss the Parmesan. So that's one option. The other option, if you're wanting to be a bit vegan or dairy free, is you could rather than use pesto, you could deconstruct it. So you could add a bunch of basil, you could add some garlic, and you could add some pine nuts, and that would be without the Parmesan, and just season it with salt, and that would still give you that fragrance and that interest into the pea soup. Another option, if you're looking for a plant-based or a dairy-free option, is to actually use hummus, make a pea and hummus soup. I've done that before and it was really, really delicious. So probably use a bit more hummus than I call for in the recipe with the pesto. What else? So other variations, if you wanted to use different veg, if you're not a frozen pea fan, can't believe it, but I suppose I do this. The veg that will work really well here. So frozen broccoli is great, or cauliflower, or any of the veggie rices. You could use that in a soup with pesto. And pesto is it's such a great ingredient to give you those complex flavors and to make it a bit more substantial without needing to add any stock. You could do a spinach soup. So if you had frozen spinach or kale, they work really well or any of the greens, frozen greens work well. Again, or you could be using fresh veggies too. So you could be using fresh peas if you wanted to, or fresh broccoli. Anything green, I think, works really well with this soup. But it could be cauliflower as well. And you can add other vegetables as well. So they're options. And then in terms of making it more substantial. So if you love carbs, of course, serving it with some toasted sourdough or some crusty bread and butter is always a nice option. Or If you want to keep it low carb and you want it more substantial, I think the thing that can be really nice here is some nuts. So whether that's roasted almonds or walnuts or pine nuts to get stick in that similar vein with the pesto, just sprinkled on top at the end to give you that crunch and more substance. It's really lovely. Or you could add in some chunks of avocado as well. So then you get the hot soup and the cold and the extra creaminess of the avocado. And another, like just giving it some extra pesto or a drizzle of extra virgin olive oil again to make it more substantial can be really lovely. Or if you're entertaining and you want it to look a bit prettier, uh, yeah, just like a drizzle of oil on top can be nice, or a little extra dollop of pesto can be really lovely. So many ways to play around with this soup. And yeah, like, so just let your imagination go wild. But if you love this idea, and I've actually was emailing with someone who has been following my recipes for like over a decade. And she said like the pea and pesto soup was the first recipe of mine she tried, and it's still on high rotation in her kitchen. Like even though I think she was single then, but now she's got a family, but it's still like this is one thing she keeps coming back to. So it's such a great pantry recipe to have in your repertoire. And yeah, so I'd love to hear from you. Like if you have any other questions, if you've got other dietary requirements that you need to cater for, like definitely leave a comment below. But I'd also love to hear, like, are you like, what's your favorite pesto? Like, do you like the just traditional pesto, or have you experimented with different pestos? So yeah, leave a comment below the video, and I check them every day, and I'd love to love to hear from you. Okay, hope you've enjoyed this, and I will catch you next time. Bye.